Hey, are you ready to learn?
What? What you wanna know? Why? Why you wanna know? What? Don't you wanna learn? So tell me what you wanna know. What? What you wanna know? Why? Why you wanna know? What? Don't you wanna learn? So tell me what you wanna know.
Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to I've Never Met a Texture I Don't Like. My name is Angie, and I am the owner of Sincerely Beautiful. I am a hairstylist, which includes being a cosmetologist, and I'm also focusing on trichology. So, this podcast is designed to learn about healthy hair care. We talk about tips and topics that's not only going to keep your hair growing healthy and strong, but also trying to prevent hair loss. So, we've got a lot of topics that we go over that not only will keep your hair healthy, but if you have concerns, hopefully we can address some of those. I'm always looking for new topics to talk about, finding out things that you want to know about. So you can always email me at sincerely with a Y, SYNERELY, sincerelybeautiful@gmail.com. We also have a website that includes some blogs, so you can go there as well at www.sbeautiful2.com. So this week, I actually want to talk a little bit differently. I am a person that loves hair accessories, and so I actually create head wraps. And we use it as a protective style for a lot of people. Some people can use it for fashion design. And there's also people I've treated cancer patients that, if you're not wearing a unit, a hair piece, a wig, however you want to call it, a lot of times you do want to have some discretion with covering your hair. And so head wraps, caps, things have been a little bit more in the play for what you can use on your hair for covering. And so today we're going to talk about what's in your wrap material. That can actually change your hair. So I tell people, it's all about what things are made of. The quality is a big thing. And so a lot of people don't really think about what's in their material because they're just like, oh, it's pretty, it's fashionable. And so this is a short breakdown. I kind of want to just give you a little bit of knowledge of what's actually in that wrap material. Because like I said, it can change your hair, whether it be for the good or the bad. If you think about it, if at a younger age, there's a lot of things that can cause friction. I think about like children when they're babies and you have children that lose the hair, they have that little halo piece of hair around their hairline from rubbing it on the sheets of the crib. And then there's other children that hair grows all the time and, they're not affected by it. So sometimes, even from a younger age, you can see how just a material on a crib sheet or on a pillowcase can actually affect, even from that first step of how the hair looks, how it grows, how it feels, the softness of it. All of those are factors. So we're going to give a quick breakdown. And like I said, all these materials are things that you're going to find in either some kind of a head covering, some kind of a hat, things that are very normal to find in it. But most people don't think about how it can actually affect your hair, your scalp, hair loss, durability, comfort. All of those things are factors you want to think about when you're looking at material. Even sensitivities. Some people have allergic concerns and they never would have thought it's something that's in what they're putting on their head itself. So we're going to start with the first one that most people are going to find is cotton. Cotton is actually a natural fiber. It's made from a cotton plant. Most people are going to find that the cotton plants are based in the United States. You're going to find it in China, India, Uzbekistan, Brazil, and Turkey. Those are the main manufacturers of cotton plants and the cotton textile material. If you think about cotton, it's very natural. It is more breathable than any synthetic fiber that you're going to use. Benefits of it, it's nice and soft. You're going to find it in lots of colors, and it's absorbent. There's no static cling to it, so your hair is not going to have a lot of frizz going on to it. Your scalp is not going to get any kind of irritation from the static in the air, especially in the wintertime. So those are factors to kind of think about. With cotton, there are different types of cotton. So the first one is actually called Pima. It is the finest cotton you can find. It's extra soft. It's made with extra long fibers. This material is usually coming from South America, and so that is one thing when you're doing research, if you're particularly, making this, or you're just looking at the description when you're trying to find it. These are things to know, where it's coming from, where it's sourced out of, and that can help you with the decision when you're making purchases if you have a specific concern with your hair or hair loss. There's Egyptian cotton. People always talk about that for the sheets. They're so nice and soft. It's very similar to Pima. It's kind of like the next step down. This one is found from material that is made in the Nile River Valley or Egypt. And again, it's very soft, extra long fibers, a little bit more expensive, the Pima and the Egyptian, based on where it's come from and how they have to source it, okay? Next, you're going to have the upland cotton, and it has shorter fibers, but 90% of the world's cotton is made from upland cotton. And just those shorter fibers, it gives it a different feel. It's still soft, but just not as luxurious feeling and as soft to the touch as the first two that I mentioned. Lastly, we have organic cotton. A lot of things right now are focusing on organic materials, not only for our world's sustainability, but also because some people are becoming more and more sensitive to things. So when you're thinking about organic cotton, it is just like you're thinking about your food. There's no chemicals that have come into contact with the cotton when it's being grown, and there's also no genetically engineered plants. So this is going to be the cleanest cotton that's possible. Now, after this cotton is made, there are manufacturers that sometimes will put dyes in it and kind of change it up. But if you're looking up and something specifically says organic cotton, you're going to think about the fact that where this plant is grown, there was no chemicals involved with it. It's a little bit more responsible. A lot of factories go into being certified, and that's one of the things they look at, like it's organic when the actual plant is being grown. Next thing you're going to find is a lot of things are made out of silk. Now, pure silk, it's very expensive. You do have to take care of it. A lot of times you have to dry clean it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The materials that you're getting, how you have to take care of it, how it has to last, the cost, all of those are factors when you're creating it. But sometimes, what you pay for is what you get. So silk is also a natural material. It's made from a protein fiber from the cocoons of insect larvae. There's different insects that actually make silk, and if you are interested, you can kind of do more research on what kind of things, but it is a process that is very unique when these insects are making their silk cocoons and then how we create it into a material. There has been some controversy over the years because certain insects are actually killed in the process of making this. And so that's one thing, if you're very specific on how your material is sourced and how things are made, you want to kind of do some research on the process of silk making, because sometimes they are killed and sometimes they're put in plants. There's spiders, there's different ways of making the silk, and each silk is going to make a different look, a different quality. And then, like I said, if you're trying to be, responsible about the care of the insects that are making this, you want to kind of do some research on the different types of silk. One thing about silk, it's highly breathable. It has a high moisture retention ability. And so, it's going to hold the water in. But it has a low heat retention. These are all factors you want to think about with something that you're putting on your head. It has low stretchability, so it's not really going to move that much, but it is soft and it's very lightweight. One great thing about silk, it has antibacterial attributes. And so that's something to keep in mind when you're talking about scalp health, when you're talking about your hair, how things are actually going to play out. You want to think about that kind of material. Is it going to hold in smell? It's going to hold in bacteria. Those are all factors. So with silk being a natural antibacterial, that is awesome for something in your hair and scalp process. A lot of times silk you're going to find is manufactured and processed in China, India, Uzbekistan, Thailand, US, and Europe. A lot more factories are starting to come across and try to make it, but one thing to keep in mind, you're going to find that some of them are actually natural silk, and then people are kind of expanding off a little bit, and some of them are factory made. So of course, do your research on it. There are different types of silk as well. There's mulberry silk. It is the easiest and the least expensive because of where those silkworms come from. They're built on the mulberry bush. There is airy silk, which is a little bit heavier and a lot more durable. But keep that in mind, if you're putting it on your head and that silk is heavier, you may sweat even though it's going to, hold in that moisture. I personally don't want a lot of sweating going on my scalp and my hair. Okay, they have Tazar silk, which is the second most produced silk in the world. Spider silk, as we talked about, is something that's very unique. It's extremely expensive. Most textile companies are not going to be using spider silk. It's really expensive to make, so you're not going to find somebody that is just openly making textiles. So it's a very unique thing. Muga or Muga silk, you're only going to find in India. It's based on the certain silkworms there. And so it is a specialty silk as well that you're going to find only in that part of the country. Sea silk is made in the Mediterranean Sea. It's made with some special clams, so that's another unique piece that you can find. So if you're specific on the type of silks that you want to use, you can kind of do some research to find the unique silk. There's also Cohen silk, and that's used to strengthen other types of silk fibers, so it's kind of mixed in with other things, but it's one that's more so just for strength for anything. Next one we're going to talk about is satin. Satin is something that can be made from silk, so it kind of gives that same look, but it's typically made from a blend of cotton, polyester, and rayon. Using that blend, it gives the look of silk, but it's a little bit more affordable. One thing to keep in mind when you have satin material, it's very soft and it's slippery. So if you're putting that on your head, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I've got, a head wrap or a bonnet that I put on my hair and it never stays on. If it's a satin cap, that's why, because that material is very slippery. It is durable, so you can kind of wash in different ways. And I tell people, when you have certain qualities, you want to make sure you do the research on how you take care of it so it will last. Most of these you want to wash in cool water, cool to maybe tepid water, and then you don't want to really put it in your dryer. You want to let it air dry so that it stays a little bit longer, okay? Silk 100% you have to get dry cleaned, so they have a special process with that. But some of these other fabrics you can do yourself, but just keep care of it. So with the satin, it's light to medium weight, but there's not much breathability. So again, you may have that sweat factor. Something to keep in mind if you're sleeping in it, if you have night sweats, if you're a type of person that your head gets hot, this may not be the material for you. You could do it as a head wrap or as a bonnet, but a lot of people also make pillowcases with some of this material, and that's something also to keep in mind when you're thinking in factors when you're sleeping, laying down, how it's going to affect your hair, how you sweat, those kind of things. So there's several different types of satin, but it's all based on the weight and the finish or the shine of the material itself. So if you hear people talk about charmeuse, crepe material, messaline, that's another example. These are all satin materials, and it's just how it's made, okay? So you can do your research. Some is just about fashion, but if you're more so concerned with how it's going to affect your hair, these are what I'm sharing with you. Next, we have bamboo. So bamboo material is one that I have fallen in love with personally. I make a multi-tie head wrap, and the uniqueness of this multi-tie head wrap, not only that you can wear it different ways and have different looks, but the base of the material that is up against your hair and your scalp is made with bamboo material. That small piece of material is very important to me. As I worked with some of my cancer patients, people that were going through chemotherapy, some that were going through remission, they started telling me a little bit more about how sensitive their scalp is, how important it is when their hair is growing back to be very sensitive with how they take care of it. So as I did more research with some of the chemotherapy caps and the things that were being addressed by doctors